now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Happy fabulous Friday, folks. Welcome to another segment of the Cold Hard Truth. How are you guys doing? I hope that everyone is wonderful. Good morning to Atlas. He said, first come, first serve. He was the first one to post a message. I don't know if he was the first one to log in, but he was certainly the first one to post his morning greetings. So good morning, happy Friday, fabulous Friday to Atlas. Bruce is asking, have any of our MLAs demonstrated the leadership qualities needed to move the country forward? So Bruce is jumping right in. Bruce is like, I don't even have time for formalities this morning. Forget good morning. Let's talk about politics. So if you guys are watching the show last night, you know that we were going through the list of elected officials, and we were basically talking about which ones, this is very, obviously just an open discussion, but we're talking about which incumbents, in other words, they're currently serving in office, could be moved if the right candidate was running against them. So it looks like a couple people are relatively solid based on our informal poll here on the show. And there are some other people who could be moved. And so far, in terms of being solid, I think we mentioned Kenneth Bryan for sure. Did we say anything about, I don't think we've gotten to Chris Saunders as yet, so we can talk about him in a second. And of course, lots of breaking news happened overnight. So there's a few things here that we're going to talk about. after the show, I think it was actually during the show, but we got word that the government has made a decision. And again, listen, the government hasn't had a press briefing in over 4 weeks now. So I don't think that they're having one today. I'm going to try to verify that here in a second. But let me just have a quick look and see. I'm going to try to find out if there's any press briefing, but it's over 4 weeks. And I doubt there's going to be one coming. But what we do know is evidently they have made a decision, and the announcement has been made via the Port Authority to the cruise partners, not to the Caymanian people. The letter went out to the cruise partners, and basically that letter said that there will be no cruise ships for the remainder of the year through December the 31st. So that's good, because I think a lot of the cruise port companies were trying to book these cruises already. So this is a letter that we received a copy of. And again, thank you to every person out there who always hooks us up with the original source information, with the details, because then that allows us to always be 100% accurate and to make sure that we get the story right when we put it out there. So, of course, as your number one source for news here in the Cayman Islands, whether it's official news or unofficial news, because we know how that goes, and that's why it's called the Mall Road, we were the first ones to be able to inform you that there will be no cruise ships until December of 2020. Now, having said that, what I would say is that I anticipate that there's going to be no cruise tourism. I would tell anyone who is in the tourism industry that realistically, I wouldn't really expect any overnight tourism in any significant capacity until next year as well. The cold hard truth, folks, somebody's got to be in a position to tell it to you. Government isn't saying that, but that's my personal opinion. I think that is exactly where it's going to be in terms of the way forward. And again, that's because yesterday they had just about 1,500 deaths in the US. I'm sure it's more than that, because now they're realizing that some of the figures are actually underreported. There was one instance last week where a lab, talking about mismanagement, a lab had some tech issues. And as a result of those tech issues, some results were basically on a database that had gotten corrupted or whatever. And so they were in the process of recovering that. And that was actually thousands of cases. So what I would say is there's definitely a huge fluctuation in the numbers of SARS-CoV-2, aka coronavirus, or COVID-19, because people are using those terms pretty much interchangeably, although they mean slightly different things. People are definitely being infected. So over 166,000 deaths reported at this particular time. So this is the world that we live in. This is our future. Over 5 million total coronavirus cases in the US. And, you know, it is sadly what it is. So they are looking at 50 to 60,000 new cases and new hospitalizations. Some states have kind of leveled off a little bit, but there's hope. There's not much hope that this is actually going to be a decline. So where there's a plateau, like there was, at the beginning of April or May, then cases went up again. It's because Americans are not really taking the measures seriously enough that they need to in order to contain it. So they'll keep going in and out of lockdown, I guess. I don't know. So keep in mind that the death toll pretty much lags behind the case count by about a month, because really people remain sick with COVID-19 for quite some time. And that's why you see right now the death rates increasing in some 20 states and territories. So you've got to really look at the scientific data to see how this is working out. But in terms of, some people are trying to dissect the statistical information to make a point that somehow the statistical information is wrong. And I think they need to be very, very close, look very, very closely at how they're jumping to that conclusion. Now, I'm no statistician. I'm not claiming to be an expert in these things. But what I do know is they're saying that this is on par with the 1918 pandemic, and America will have a lot of dead people at the end of this, upwards of 300,000 by the end of the year. So given that as a possibility, we can then see why we would want to close off our cruise ship and potentially our borders entirely until the end of the year. So it is what it is, unfortunately. California has over 62,000 new cases this week, up from 46,000 and a bit the previous week. Puerto Rico had over 4,400. Idaho had over 3,500. Hawaii had over 1,100, almost 1,200 new cases, and South Dakota as well. So those are some areas of concern that they're monitoring very, very closely. So, numbers are fluctuating. You've got Alabama. They actually have a breakdown by city and state. So there's tons of information that is available to you that you can actually go and read. National Geographic has a very good, breakdown of how the different locations within the US are ranked and how they're doing. So you can pick a particular state, for example, Florida, and it'll give you the increases. So this particular week, cases in Florida actually decreased compared to the previous week, where they had 48,162 new cases in the past 7 days. That's down from the previous week, which was 51,316. For their total cases, they have over 500,000. So then they still rank number 2 out of 53 regions that are being monitored in terms of total cases. And they rank number 3 of cases per 10,000 people. So that's the per capita way of figuring it out. So they're up there. And of course, again, knowing that we have to fly into Florida, that's very, very concerning. And that's why I seriously doubt, because I don't see the US getting this situation under control anytime soon. I seriously doubt that we will be in a position to reopen our borders. So I just confirmed there's no press conference today again. So the deaths in Florida this week did decline slightly from 1,138 for the week compared to 1,294 from the previous week. However, overall reported deaths for Florida, they rank number 6 and they rank number 17 of deaths per 100,000 people. And they also have a death rate of 1.6%. So remember now, that's not an infection rate, that's actually a death rate. So in terms of the death rate, they do rank number 37. So yeah, check this out. I'll share the link here in case you want to monitor a particular state. You can just click on that state and then you can see how that state is trending compared to other places in the US. So for example, California has the total, they're number 1 of 53 regions for the total number of cases, but the cases per capita, the infections per capita, they're still at number 23. So they're still below Florida when you look at it in terms of that. And then reported deaths, they're number 3, but reported deaths per capita, they're number 29. They come in a little bit above Florida in terms of the percentage of the population death rate being 1.8, whereas Florida was 1.6. So I don't want to drown you guys in any numbers. If I had to summarize it, folks, the bottom line is it's still very much a shit show. Okay? Atlas having himself a good laugh this morning. Bruce, we're going to get into it now about our MLAs, and we're also going to talk about some interesting information that came out yesterday at the Economic Forum. Louis, top of the Friday to you, my dear. Yes, we're all getting ready for the weekend. Are people still doing staycations here? Let us know how that's been going. I received a very interesting message about one of the, I think they're actually one of the quarantine properties, like one of the locations that you can quarantine, having people sign what one person says is an absolutely ridiculous waiver, where if you get electrocuted and all this kind of stuff, they're not responsible. Seems a bit extreme, but we're going to have a look at that perhaps later on this morning as well. We will be ending the show a little bit early because I've got to jaunt off to court because I am monitoring a few cases. Now, listen, I don't think I updated you guys on what happened to me when I went to court on Wednesday, because, on Tuesday, I completely forgot that I even had court, right? So it wasn't until that evening that another member of the media sent me a message and said, "Hey, Sandy, what's this?" And I was like, OMG. I totally, when I say it slipped me completely. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta go to court. And so I was aware that there were 2 cases coming down the pipeline, and they'd only served me for one particular case. So when I got there and I explained to the judge what happened, she said, fine. She vacated the bench warrant, because you know how this works. If you don't show up to court, folks, and you're on that cause list, you're in a little bit of trouble in the sense that they immediately issue a bench warrant for your arrest. Now, listen, I've been in and out of court so many times, I can't even tell you, for my own stuff. And I have never missed a court date before. So, I really kind of feel like, I guess shit happens. I don't know. I mean, one of my legal friends was like, don't worry about it. Sometimes I forget, things happen. The judge will understand. And the judge was actually very understanding. She vacated the warrant after I told her, basically I had to be honest. I just forgot. I had so much going on. But the strange thing is, in the back of my head, I knew that I had somewhere to be. You know how you have that nagging feeling in your head, like, there's something I'm supposed to be doing today. And so I knew that, and then it still slipped me. And up until the week before, remember I was talking about it, that I was going to be in court on Tuesday, and then Tuesday came and went. And, sometimes I feel like the days, especially kind of working in this hybrid situation from home and up and down, like the days kind of melt together, and I have to make a concerted effort to just think about what day is today, actually. But I know today's Friday, right? But anyway, she was cool about it, no issues. And what was interesting that happened is, I knew about the one case that they were alleging the same thing as in the Matthew Leslie case, harassment, blah, blah, blah. They don't seem to like this podcast format, and they don't understand that if I get on a podcast and I drop a few words that they may be offended by, does that really constitute harassment, folks? I'm like, come on, this is getting a bit ridiculous now. But anyway, they're going to keep trying, folks. They're going to try and try and try and try. And so there's another case that I was aware of, but they had not yet served me the papers, that she made mention of. And of course, I don't have files on any of these cases, because that's how it works when you go to court. They're not ready with any files or anything like that, they being the DPP's office. So now they have a week to try to get me that stuff. And I'm thinking, do you not know that I was coming to court on Tuesday? Surely you knew that, and surely you should have had the files ready. But when I tell you that sometimes I shake my head at the lack of disorganization in the entire judicial process, there are times that I'm in awe that they get anything done, but they manage to on a daily basis. So it is so incredibly interesting. But anyway, They didn't have the file ready, so they have until next week now to get that ready for me. And so the second case, which they hadn't served me any papers on, she made mention of, and I said, well, that's weird because I haven't been served a summons for that. So why would you be bringing that up in court if I haven't been? I mean, I only know about it because I have sources. You know what I'm saying? I got my inside links everywhere. And so she was like, well, they will eventually serve you, but it's already here. And they're kind of, you got the two matters going on. I'm like, okay. So sure enough, right after I left court, I had the bailiff calling me to serve me. And so I said to him, I said, yeah, the funny thing about that is the judge already brought it up in court. So here we are. This is the little thing that they serve you, in case you guys have not seen it. So they're accusing me of disorderly conduct contrary to section 164 1C of the Penal Code 2019 revision. And this is in relation to a matter last year, September. Boy, do they wait forever. At Lisa Lane, West Bay. So this is the Mendoza protests, as you guys may remember. And they're claiming that I was using language threatening, abusive, or calumnious language accompanied by such behavior to persons publicly, such as would tend to provoke a breach of the peace. So this is interesting, and I'm not gonna give my hand away in relation to this, but we will we'll talk about this offense as we progress, because this is gonna be, I think, interesting for more reasons than one. But you can't let them know all your cards at one time. So again, this is in relation to the Mendoza protests that occurred September of last year. So super interesting, disorderly conduct. That's a new one in terms of what they're charging me with. I always have a copy of the penal code handy on my computer for my disposal. And I think I need a new copy of the penal code, actually, because it says the 2019 revision. Looks like they've made a few changes to it. So yes, we will definitely have a look at that, and I will keep you guys updated as usual on what is happening there. We always want to be the first ones, folks, to give you the information because we're in a position to just give it to you straight. Can't get much straighter than this. And so I do have a copy here, the Penal Code, 144 pages. And that section, which relates to, let me just see. The Penal Code is actually divided into different sections. So part 6 includes this section, I believe. So there was this is section 164, yeah. So there is an actual, that's actually in part 5, which talks about disorderly conduct, drunk and disorderly persons. That's on page 74. I'm pretty sure I wasn't drunk. But yes, this is an amazing section for them to be trying me under. It's like they're grasping at straws, right? They must sit down and think, okay, she's done something we don't like. Ooh, she used profanity. She did that, yes. What can we charge her with? So it's like they don't even go in knowing or thinking that I've committed an offense. They just have someone who says, I don't like what Sandy did in this particular date during this particular event. So do something about it. And so then they go and they comb through the penal code, all the sections, and they got to find at least one section. So there's no misuse of ICT in this one. And, they try to find these really low hanging fruits that they can come at me with, that it doesn't even take much to prove their case. And so this one is super, super interesting. But most offenses have some sort of requirements, even if they're not very much, they do require certain things. So this one again is disorderly conduct, section C. This actually has A through G, because apparently disorderly conduct can can mean a lot of different things, including blowing a horn or other noisy instrument or beating any drums in any public street. Wow. Marks on any fence, wall, or building, any obscene figure, drawing, painting, or representation. Again, interesting. Without the consent of the owner, affixes any bill or paper against or upon any building, wall, fence, etc. Burns any wood, shavings, rubbish, or sweepings, or throws or lays any dirt, litter, ashes, or any carrion, fish, offal, containers, bottles, or any rubbish in public. So it goes on and on and on and on and on. So commits an offense and is liable to a fine of $2,000. So isn't this one interesting? This one has no prison sentence attached. It's just a fine. DPP's office, I ain't got no money. You know, don't be trying to find me here, folks. I ain't got no money. I guess I have to apply to legal aid for them to pay it for me, make the government pay it. So again, a very low-lying offense. Doesn't require very much. It doesn't even say, I mean, I don't even know if this is any mental element here. It just says uses language, abusive or whatever. So that's interesting. But I got a couple cards up my sleeve that we shall see. And you know what is so funny? It's a bit of a running joke now when I show up to court. Like all the lawyers are there and they're like, oh, look, it's Sandra Hill. Again, she's been to court more than anybody else in this country. And until last week, had never been convicted. So they kind of throw me a bone. I mean, they're so nice. I got to tell you, a lot of the legal fraternity, some of them are real asses. I wanted to say something else, but they're asses. Let's leave it at that. They're jackasses. And so, I'm not about that. But a lot of them are also very cool. And they'll say, you need to look at this when you're thinking about this offense. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I got you. Gonna research that a little bit. So that's actually what happened this week in court when I finally arrived on Wednesday. They were like, you want to watch this? And, they've got the experience behind it. They know what they're talking about by and large. So if they throw me a bone, folks, I am going to grab it and do what I got to do. Yes, that's all I can tell you. So I can't tell you yet what the bone is. And then somebody else, funny enough, who had been charged under this section and had a case thrown out, they equally threw me a bone as well by way of a phone call and said, it's interesting that they're charging you with this because here is what a judge has said when they threw out this offense before that could be very useful to you. And I thought, wow, of course that's useful. Incredibly useful. So do you guys know that there are different types, like different categories of offenses? Now, I'm not here to give you guys a law degree, but there are categories of offenses. There's a category A offense, B, and C. And I think based on the category, you are, you have the option then to elect where the matter will be heard. So summary court or grand court. And I'm trying to remember where that information is in terms of the law. So more information to come, folks. It certainly makes life interesting. We don't always have a lot of time for these shenanigans, but as I tell people, when you are accused of something, you better make the time to address it. Otherwise, you'll by default just end up in jail. And picking a good attorney is a mistake that I will never make again. And if that means representing myself as I have in the past, then so be it. So Jake, Dawn, good morning, my dear. Thank you guys so much. Bruce says politics in Cayman is still very tribal, and the options available to choose from on election day leave a lot to be desired. Okay, Bruce, let's get into it. Louis says he's staying in his COVID-free garden. Give me 1 second here, folks. I do want us to reflect on or continue the conversation from last night, which was basically us discussing where we were in terms of the election. So I believe we left off with we did most of Georgetown. So let us move into, we kind of did West Bay. So most people feel like, I don't think we finished West Bay because we did McKeeva Bush. Most people feel like Big Mac, despite his legal woes, remains untouchable. I don't personally think anybody's untouchable, but he might come as close as, I guess, him and Anthony, as untouchable as you can get. And so far, I've not heard of anyone that is running against him that would give him a run for his money. But remember when Tara Rivers ran the second time, because like most candidates who ran the first time, she was not successful. But when she ran the second time, this was still when they had multi-member constituencies. She, at one point in the polls, was superseding McKeeva in the overall numbers. So she surpassed him at one point, and then it kind of pulled back down a little bit. But people were shocked as the counts were coming in for the four people in West Bay. People were shocked that at any point, if McKeeva is as strong as everybody says he is, that anyone would have surpassed him. But folks, let's not forget history. She certainly did. And so, coming into the election, we'll be analyzing a lot of the statistical data and information that's available in terms of our elected officials. But yeah, she's passed him at one point. Everybody was like, oh my God, is it possible that McKeeva could lose the election? And obviously he didn't, but it was still shocking to think that that was even remotely possible. Yeah. So you never know. The point is you simply never know. And you cannot take anything to the bank until you're absolutely sure you can cash it. And that is just what it is. So incredibly interesting. Let me just, so lots of people are gearing up. So let's consider Bernie Bush. So what are your thoughts, folks, on Bernie Bush? How solid is Bernie Bush in the District of West Bay? Let me tell you where he's at in West Bay, actually. Okay, give me 1 second here. Yes. All right, so Bernie is in the District of, let us have a look. Is he West Bay? Okay, let's see where we are. So elected officials, Bernie would be, I'm trying to find the graph I had last night. That one was super interesting. Let me see, I think this is it. Yes. Okay, so Bernie Bush, he is elected member for West Bay North. Right. So He's also a member of the official opposition. There are 5 members of the official opposition. So let's have your votes this morning on whether or not you think Bernie Bush can be moved. So, like I said, we're just randomly throwing names out there in terms of who can potentially move them. Some names we've heard floating around, and others we're just throwing out there for good measure. So Bruce says many people in Cayman don't vote for someone because they think they are competent and capable. Instead, is it a choice based on who will do the best amount of, or the least amount of damage to the country? Wow, Bruce, that's kind of depressing and sad. I don't even know, honestly, Bruce, if I had to analyze what you just said, I don't even know if that's how people really vote. They vote, like you said, in a tribal fashion. Oh, I grew up with this person. My daddy knows them. They're a family friend. Anytime I need a handout and, I'm in desperate need of something, I go to them and they're there for me. That's really what people vote off of, Bruce. I grew up with them. They went to school with me, my brother. They're in my year. Yes, they're womanizer. Yes, they're wife beater. Yes, they will, take money under the table, but we're still going to put them in because we're friends. John Smith, buenos dias, bonjour, good morning. Oh gosh, listen, is your name John? You're coming with all the languages now. Guten Morgen, namaste. I don't know what language, which one is this? Buongiorno. And that sounds like Italiano. And then this has to be Filipino, Tagalog. It says, let me butcher this one for you, just like the minister. Marandang umaga po. That sounds pretty okay, maybe. My Filipino friends will have to tell me how bad that was. Not every language is phonetic, so sometimes you look at it and you're like, what the heck? Charles says, I wish what you said about people voting for those who do the least damage to our country. How I wish that was true. Yes, it doesn't seem like that's how they're voting at all. Good morning, Evelyn. Charles said we can't have the government we have and what you said be true, especially under the leadership of Alvin McLaughlin. Ooh, Charles is no fan, in case you've not noticed, of the current premier. John says you go to court a lot, Sandy, because you always fight for the rights of others or for the truth. Yeah, so sometimes I'm in court for myself, right? And other times I am in court for just covering court news. So I must say, most of the time I'm covering court news that's not related to me at all. So this morning is one of those days. Good morning, Cecile. Charles says, for God's sake, I hope she doesn't get elected. Let's not mention her name, Sandy. Woo! Tara Rivers is in shaky ground. And yes, people have said that, she had one job, which is to keep us off the blacklist. And she failed at that one job in 4 years. Other than that, you've actually not heard from Tara. Not a single peep. Some of them have been quieter than a house mouse. Because at least a house mouse, you're going to see little droplings around the place and you're going to hear them every once in a while rummaging through your stuff. Some of these MLAs are like radio silence. It's like, hello, are you there? Louis says, when it becomes possible for the people to present the agenda and candidates run for those issues, will anyone be held accountable for their promises? Probably not, Louis. Probably not. To be fair, they don't do it in big countries like the United States of America. I guess we probably can't expect much in the world of politics. Evelyn says no, so she's the first person to vote in terms of Bernie. Does anyone else, believe that Bernie Bush can be moved? So let's think of the possibilities of who could be running against Bernie, because West Bay is always a bit of an interesting situation. It seems like it's always the same suspects that run for West Bay. But we could have some reemergence of individuals. So say, for example, Ralston Anglin. Now, you guys know Ralston served as, I think he was Minister of Education and Labor at one point. He served, I think, 2 terms, and then he's taken a bit of a break. If Ralston came back into the runnings for that district against Bernie Bush, That would be a very interesting heavy hitter campaign. So what do you guys think? Ralston versus Bernie. Is Bernie shakeable? Yeah, that's an interesting question. So Catherine, so Evelyn says no. Hi, Sue. Anybody else wants to vote on Bernie Bush? And, if he goes against a heavy hitter like a Ralston, what do you think? So Catherine makes the point that East End needs some good competition this election. And who's going to run against Arden McLean, leader of the opposition? And who could potentially beat Arden McLean is also the question. So EastEnders can let me know, how is Arden doing in that particular district? So Morna says no. Is that to Bernie or to Arden? Happy Friday. What about Chris Saunders? Chris is in the district of where's Chris? Chris is in Town West, I think. We're gonna double check here. Just to make sure. Give me 1 second. So I'm looking for okay, so yes, there is that particular district. I'm just trying to save a copy of this penal code really quickly on my computer. So that's a 2019 revision. Okay. All right, so that is saved. I got a copy of that. If you guys ever want any copy of laws, they're all available online. There's never an excuse why you can't get a copy now for free. You no longer have to pay for these things. John says yes. So which one, John? Sue says I like them both. So you like both Bernie and Ralston? Okay. Bernie. Yes. Okay. Let me go back, Morna. Morna says no for Bernie. John says yes for Chris. Okay. So you think Chris could be moved? Okay. That's interesting. And Morna for Savannah. No, Chris isn't Savannah. Chris is actually Town West. So those of you who are in Town West, I'm actually Town West. What do you guys think about that? I'll tell you what, I am a little bit, let me share something with you guys. I never tell people how I vote. However, Sue is saying we need somebody in Savannah who does something with us. So Savannah would actually be Anthony Eden. He's Newlands. Anthony Eden is Savannah. Alva Saku is Newlands. So we did Alva last night, and a few people felt like Wayne Panton is going to give him a run for his money. So elected member for Savannah is Anthony Eden. So what is Mr. Anthony doing? Steve Carter says Bernie, yes, can be moved. Evelyn says no for Chris. No, he cannot be moved. That's interesting. So I am in Chris's area, which is Town West. And I must say, Chris just did his back to school drive, which he's done every single year. And he hands out much needed school supplies to the kids. I think this year he did deliveries himself. So he packets them together in like a little backpack and he gives out school supplies. So he has a list of kids every year that are in need. And I think he gives out a substantial number of backpacks. And we always keep up with Chris because he does do that. That's become an annual event now for sure. And so I'm in his district, but I'm thinking about this upcoming election. I don't know. I haven't heard of any name for this area actually. So I've not heard of a single person that's going to be running against Chris. I guess maybe the people who ran against him last time. I think that was Maxine, a lawyer from Maples. But you know what really irks me? When someone runs for political office, someone like Maxine, obviously she's a lawyer and she's qualified professionally in some sense of the word. But what really gets me is if you are committed to the process, and yes, running for politics is a process. How is it that you run for political office and then we never hear from you again if you don't get in? So you ghost us. I mean, everybody know what ghosted means in this day and age with all the young people, right? So they ghost us. We hear nothing about them. They do nothing as far as we're aware. And then all of a sudden, they want to run again for round two to take out an incumbent. And we're like, where have you come back out from? Where were you hiding? Like I said, it's like the house mouse syndrome. So we can't ever get a feel for who these people really are. So, yes, I have concerns about that. And if you are not able to sustain a level of community involvement over a period of time to show that you actually care about the community, then, maybe I'm just not hearing about it. I don't know. Fill me in here, folks. I mean, I'm thinking of some of the people who ran last time for the first time. Where have they disappeared to? Where are they? Not a word. So they're just as bad as some of the incumbents or worse. So thank you, Miss Ethel, for the wonderful words. I love you too. Shouting out from the UK. We got a lot of Caymanians and Jamaicans and all people from all over in the UK who tune into the program. So big shout out to Cecile and others who are watching us from the UK, from Paris. Barbara is normally here as well. Larry, of course, is from New York. Louis is from Detroit. Who else we got? Cayman Brackers are here. Lots of people tuned in. So yeah, I often wonder, where are these candidates? Where have they been hiding out? Catherine says Anthony needs to go. So here's what I was going to tell you. Speaking of Anthony, here's what I was going to tell you in relation to the voting this year. So I always tell people, listen, if you do not vote and you do not participate in the process, you can't then have a voice really about how things are going to be done, because you could have made a difference in who was actually elected to public office. On the other hand, I have also made a bit of a commitment inside of my head that anyone who voted no on the domestic partnership bill, which has now put us in the situation where the UK will force it down our throats, really has not made me happy. Okay. And so I feel like, should I give that person, this is what I'm mulling over, should I give that person my vote? Not necessarily that I would vote for anybody else, but by giving them a vote and say it's a close race where they might be winning by 20 people, by 10 people, by even 2 people. If enough of us say, you know what, on this single issue, we're going to take a stand, and not because they're pandering to the vote. So the vote that they want is that church vote, really staunch church vote that is trying to deny people their equality, legal rights. There has to be some separation between church and state at some point, no matter how you cut it, right? So I said to someone just yesterday, listen, the Bible and Jesus never forced anyone to come to him. You didn't see him whipping people and beating people into submission, that they have to even believe in him or believe in anything that the Bible says. The Bible actually says you have free will to choose. So if you have free will to choose, why is it that Christians are always the ones running around telling people that they must do what they say? I'm always perplexed by that. So I know that these politicians are pandering to that particular vote. And the rest of us who do not feel that way and who do not want to deny the Caymanian LGBT community their rights, should we then be giving those same people our votes regardless? Because keeping our vote away from them could make the difference in the election. It may not make them lose, but it might make the margin tight enough where they realize, maybe I don't need to just pander to the vocal church vote because that isn't everyone in this community, right? Everyone, even people in church, there are people in church, and there are pastors who do not feel the way that some of these people feel in terms of denying the legal right for domestic partnership. So, what do you guys think about that? I know I've segued into a slightly different conversation here, but do you ever find or feel like you should withhold your vote in order to send a clear message to a candidate? I mean, obviously, they're not going to know how you voted or how you didn't vote, but the process of withholding your vote, on the one hand, can be a means of showing that you do not support what that person has done. But on the other hand, I also believe that you should always vote. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation, especially if you don't believe that there's another candidate out there who necessarily offers much of a better option. So Irvin points out that Chris has actually been working during COVID, handing out stuff. I must say that as my elected representative, he contacted me and asked me if I was in need of anything. I said, no, thank you. Go to somebody else who's actually in need, because I do not believe in taking if you do not need. And more people need to do that, folks. So I'm good so far. But you're absolutely right, Irvin. He did reach out. And so I always appreciate that about Chris. Christmas time, he does his rounds, greeting everyone. He actually goes door to door. He hands out Christmas fruitcakes, which normally I don't eat fruitcakes. So I'm like, you know what? Give it to somebody else who's going to eat it, because I hate taking things that I know I definitely will not be eating it. But John says, but we can't judge one only because he gives up more stuff. So that is not the only criteria. And I agree with John. You need to look at your candidates in a more realistic way. So helping the community and being beneficial to the community is one thing that we have come to expect of our elected officials. And I must say that there are people who have run for public office in the past, or who are anticipating that they will be running for public office, and they don't have that desire or that part of their personality that they even want to run. That they want to be that involved in the community. And it's kind of an expectation here in Cayman, to be honest. So if you don't do it, you tend to get castigated, to be fair, Bruce. So the question becomes, can someone be a successful politician in this country without engaging in the handouts to some level, or engaging in the community, like kind of like Christmas handouts, turkeys, fruitcakes, the back to school supplies, that sort of thing? Do you think there will ever be a successful politician in Cayman who doesn't engage in any of that, but is still successful? I mean, I often think of what's the name of the one guy there? Oh, he ran for office. He was in Georgetown, not the last election, but the election before. He decided not to run last time. And I think one of the reasons was he was kind of tired of people coming to him constantly for handouts. And he's like, he's not going to do it. Remind me of his name. Oh, God, I can't remember his name now. He's in financial services. He's a lawyer. He was actually consular under Tara Rivers last time for education, because he was the one who came to court and testified in my last case, the nation building case. So I should remember his name, because he was like, my lawyer put him to shame in terms of why they had even brought this complaint to begin with. Help me remember his name here, folks. I can't remember his name. But anyway, he was one of those people who said, Winston, thank you, Stephen. Ugh, talk about a brain fart here. Winston Connolly was one of those people who basically wasn't into the whole handout thing. He's like, listen, I don't want to be giving people handouts. I think that we should create systems and processes or whatever in place where you can help yourself. Totally agree with that. But we also live in a community where people expect you to help out. And we know in certain districts, the elderly community gets a little something, something from their MLA every single month, even if it's just a little $50 voucher. And they get used to that. And I'm sure that keeps them happy with their elected officials, no matter what else they're doing. So they can be doing anything else, and you give them that $50 voucher, you are guaranteeing their vote. And so this, I mean, some people say, listen, that crosses a line between vote buying and truly being just altruistic, like you want to help the community, you want to help the needy. So it's a very thin line, I would dare say, between the two. So Steve says, Alric, yes, for Georgetown South. So thank you for that vote, Steve. We did Alric last night going up against Barbara. And I think the consensus was Alric has got a fighting chance. And I personally like Alric a lot. I think that he has a good, humble personality, but at the same time, he is an intelligent person that can bring a lot to the table. He also grew up in similar circumstances to a lot of us with basically a very poor environment. And so he can relate to that situation. He continues to live in Windsor Park, I think, up until recently. So he's in the area, you know, he is connected and he has some sense of what's going on. And he also knows in the real world what helped him pull up his bootstraps and was able to make a better life of his circumstances. And what was so interesting, you know, we did our first conversations with segment, which we've got to do another one with Alric because I'm so curious to know more about him and how his life has progressed. But what we've found out thus far is here you have two kids, him and his brother, who grew up in the same household. And his brother, you know, is known as a little bit of a gangster and did things that were not good and it landed him in jail. And then Alric, you know, decided to focus on education because he saw that as his way out. We need those examples in the LA. You know, I get a sense that sometimes there are people who we elect that come from such a privileged background. Even if they grew up poor, they want to pretend like they came from such a privileged background. They're not able to admit the poverty that they came up under. So good morning to Debbie and Joy and Kyle who are watching through my personal page. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Manzi is also tuned in as well. So yeah, they don't want to admit, you know, I have no shame in my game. I'm just a poor kid from Georgetown, grew up off of Hospital Road up until a certain age, and then I moved to the States. And moving to the States afforded me a different environment and certain opportunities I definitely would not have had and came at the time. However, the struggle was real. When I was in university, I got and I understood the importance of an education. But there were days that I also had to sacrifice for that because despite being in university through a number of different things, partial scholarships, you know, my dad helping to pay for tuition, me working to cut down the costs on room and board. So I was working full time, going to school, you know, all of these things. There were still days that I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. So when people talk about, you know, poverty and the uncertainty of life, I had a head over my roof because I was working. But there were times when it was like, okay, I ain't got no money to buy anything extra. There's no pizza money, there's nothing. And so I'm always grateful to know that there are people who will come into your life at very pivotal points and be there to assist you. So on the one hand, when MLAs assist people in need, I kind of understand where that comes from. And, you know, I'm the type of person, sometimes I'm a little bit of a sucker. But, you know, as they say, fool me once. But I try to help people. You know, I will go out of my way to help other people because I think give people a chance, give them an opportunity. And then it's for them to make something of that. And this is where, you know, it's incumbent on all of us to try to pull ourselves up. We can't control the circumstances that we come out of. So you cannot control if you were raised or you grew up in a poor home, sometimes single parent homes, etc. You have no control over those types of things. But when you get to a certain age and you have the opportunity to start making decisions that will impact your future and give you opportunities, you have to grasp that quickly. And that's one of the things that really touched me about Alaric's story in her first conversations with Segment was when he was talking about the fact that he actually, that he actually um, did a complete, I guess, 180 in his personal life as opposed to a sibling, and that he really just focused on education as a priority. And that will be one of the things that can give you opportunities and can pull you out of your situation. Charles says liking them is fine, but their electability is what needs to be considered. Ralston can't stay sober, and Bernie is unless none of them is electable. I think he meant useless. So that's an interesting comment, Charles, about Ralston. And I think that is something that Ralston, having had a discussion with Ralston, that he will actually be addressing in one of our conversations with segments. I think it is a question of legit concern for the community. And so we want to hear what Ralston has to say about that. Listen, there's more than one person in the LA who obviously has some sort of a substance abuse or sobriety problem. For some of them, that's the least of their worries because they're also violent people. They're also women beaters. Some of them are doing the most of things that make you really shake your head. And that's why, again, I find it so peculiar that they feel like they're in a position to judge the LGBT community when some of them are technically part of that community anyway, but they're doing it on the down low. They cannot even be honest. So Irvin is all for Chris. Says you can call him anytime. He's always checking up on people. And I know Chris is one of those that has his WhatsApp group where he's always in communication with people, updating people, his voters and stuff about what's going on as well. Sue says no one has come near us once with masks. Wow. Where do you live, Sue? Are you in Savannah? What a hot mess. To be honest, no one has offered me a mask either, but I guess maybe they knew I had enough masks. I don't know, but no one has knocked on my door about masks either. So I don't know how the mask distribution happened for this area. Don't know, but I wasn't really in need of a mask, so that's not really here nor there for me. But yes, I think for people who are in need. The other day I was at court and a lady approached me and I saw her with her mask on. It looks like she's been wearing her mask for 4 months. It's one of those disposable masks, and they're not supposed to be used that long. You're supposed to use them for a certain amount of time, throw them out, and then get a new one. And hers, like the little like kind of the blue material, the kind of linty material, that was all like, it looks like she had been using it literally for the past 4 months. And so I thought to myself, should I say anything to her? Like maybe help her get a new mask or something, but I didn't want to offend her in any way. But once you've used the mask so many times, it's ineffective actually. So you need to throw those disposable masks away. The ones that you have that are reusable, that can be washed and reused, then, that's one thing. But a disposable mask is actually meant to be disposed of. And they are not single use, but they are certainly maybe 4 or 5 time use, and then you discard it. Because already that's going to be germy, you're going to be taking it off and handling it. And let me see about the disposable face mask and what they say about usage. Let me see if there's any sort of data on this. I'm sure they're collecting all sorts of information about them. And obviously, if you're in an environment like a hospital, you should be changing those very, very frequently. So yeah, they're not meant to be used all the time. Reuse and use and reuse. So throw them away, folks. If you don't have access to one, I did see them. There was some store I was in the other day. I can't remember. I think it was Foster's actually, that they had them. I'm pretty sure it was Foster's because I haven't really been going in many stores, but I saw it right by the register. Yes, it was Foster's Countryside. And they had them in a plastic bag. So I guess they've taken out a bigger container and kind of broke them up, and you could purchase them for like, I don't know how many were in the bag, but it was like a couple dollars that you could purchase them for. So yes, by all means, those cloth masks need to be discarded and thrown away. As part of your regular hygiene situation. You can't wash those. You can't really disinfect them in any way. So throw them out. Yeah. Even the ones that you wash, you know, you can wash them. You got to make sure that you are sanitizing and washing your hands after you've taken them off and that sort of thing. But yes, dispose of them properly, please. And when I say properly, I do not mean on the streets, on the beaches, and so forth. All right. Thank you, John. So Morna says no for Chris, which means no, Chris cannot be moved. John says yes for Chris, but I think John also meant to say no, because earlier he said, I am with Chris too. So how we're doing the vote is no, a person isn't likely to be moved by anyone, or yes, they are likely to be moved. So just remember, no, not likely to be moved, or yes, oops, can be moved. That's the criteria. Sue is in Savannah Meadows, which means that that would be Anthony Eden. So a few people are of the opinion, speak on Mr. Eden. Let's do Mr. Eden next. Can Anthony Eden be moved? He's been in there. He's one of the grandfathers of the Legislative Assembly, but I hear a lot of people, even some older heads like Sue, is saying that it's time for Anthony to go. Is it time for his retirement? Is there such a thing as you're just dated and there's only so much you can do and you need to retire from politics? In the Cayman Islands, we seem to think that a person can run forever until either they drop dead or they're voted out of office. Very few people have actually retired from public office here in the Cayman Islands. One of those examples is Kurt Tibbetts. But of course, we even hear rumblings about, oh, Kurt Tibbetts is going to come back into the race. So is that really retirement, or is that just like a temporary vacation? You know, it's a good question. Steve says, Sandy, you should consider running because you contribute tremendously for the voiceless. Now, Steve, I appreciate the sentiment, but my position is no, thank you. And I'm going to tell you guys why. I know I've said it before, but there's a good logical reason why I will never run for public office in this country again. First of all, with this platform, and I got to be honest with you, 4 years ago, even before the day that it hit me to start Cayman Road, I did not think of anything like this or the potentials of this or how this would work or any of that. And I can see that I've obviously upset a lot of people. That's why the DPP keeps dragging me into court. Charles Whitaker saw a vision before I did. So hats off to Charles. He saw it way before me. And I must say that when I started this journey, it was sort of a reactive situation where I was actually contributing content to Loop, and they were just not, in my opinion, representing or covering the issues that mattered to the people of the Cayman Islands. So they always wanted like a nicely packaged story. Anything that was like too controversial or they thought was too controversial, they didn't have the balls to just say, you know what, deal with this story regardless, put this out there in the public domain, let's have the discussion. And so I said, one afternoon, I'm going to do my own thing. And that's how Cayman Road literally got started. Now, even before Cayman Road, I have always been, and I have kind of said this to you guys, I have always felt like my primary objective in life, and I think everybody has to find their thing, right? Call it your mojo, your remit, whatever it is, your passion in life, for me has always been to help people. And that's just a part of who I am. and a part of my personality. And I think it's just ingrained um, in my psyche. Like it's my personality. It's not something that I can even help. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm done. I'm not helping people anymore. People are so ungrateful. And then somebody messaged me, oh, Sandy, I need your help. And I'm like, okay, I'm a sucker for helping people. There was a time when I was a sucker for helping people in my personal life. And then I realized that that came with some real pitfalls because you're engaging in relationships with people who are a hot mess. And so because I engage with people who are hot mess all the time, because a lot of us are, I don't now want that in my relationship. So I've outgrown that whole thing, which I think a lot of us have, that, we're trying to be a hero kind of thing. So I feel like I don't need to be in politics to help people. And in fact, I feel like I do a better job not being in politics because there are limitations that I don't want to have. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need to pander to anyone with what I do. I can speak the cold, hard truth. And if you don't like it, you simply don't listen to the show. You don't read CMR, you don't listen to the program, that's fine. If you like it and you understand the vision and what we're trying to accomplish here, then you're on board. Thank you, John. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you all who tune in every single morning. I think there are certain restraints that come with being an elected official because you're not always able to tell people the cold hard truth. Sometimes you have to be soft with them and not say the cold hard truth at all because that person's a voter or their family is well connected in the community. On this program, none of that matters to me. I don't care who you are. So you can be the premier of this country, and I'm going to tell you the cold hard truth, or you could be anyone, a drug addict, a sweeper in the, and I'm trying to treat everyone with really the same yardstick. So no one is going to get preferential treatment on CMR and the cold hard truth just because of who you are. It's true equality in the sense that if it's newsworthy, we're going to cover you. That's why I find it so interesting when Mr. Leslie, for example, wants people to believe that I'm picking on him. Well, if that was the case, then there are tons of other people who could say that I'm picking on them because I have covered scammers, from alleged scammers, from him to the shutter people, Cayman hurricane shutters, whatever they're called. There have been tons of people. And the other day I had to start going through, the website for people who are writing reference letters for me for court. And they were like, tell us some of the stuff that CMR has done. Oh my God, it's been the most. It gives me great pleasure to say that we have helped. Like really, we were the ones who helped a man, poor Jamaican guy, crying, an adult man, at least in his probably 50s, crying about this $10,000 bag of money that he had lost. And because of that story on Cayman Mall Road, for no other reason, that money was recovered, that had passports in it, that had jewelry in it, and that had over $10,000 of US cash in it. What MLA has ever helped someone? And you know what I'm saying? So whether it's something simple, helping people find their beloved pets, their beloved birds, outing child molesters, helping people find that bag of money that was left in the car and fell off. Like, I feel like we can do so much here on this platform. We're starting a youth program. We're going to be looking at youth health issues. And again, to me, those are amazing accomplishments that I want to continue in that vein. And being an elected official, I don't get the sense that I can do any of that. So we all have a role to play, John. Steve, sorry. And I think that, Steve, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I always say that. Some people think it's kind of funny that I say that, but we're right where we're supposed to be. And at the end of the day, the change that we can make on this platform will be like no other content creator or news site in the Cayman Islands. I mean, think about it, Steve. We post a story, we go live on location about something. All of a sudden, all of the Cayman Islands is talking about it. All of a sudden, the MLA is like, oh shit, Sandy's on the case. We need to do this, we need to do that. Stick a pin. I was telling you guys earlier, I'm now in court for, what are they saying I've done? Disorderly conduct. Here we go again. So this is the new case, right? This is the protest with the Mendoza family versus Mike Adams and his family. We were the ones who posted up on our platform, let's have a protest. Let's do it. Let's meet out there. It was let me just check the date of this. I think this was the first date that we went. Hold on one second. I'm going to just double check the date. August. Oh gosh, I got to go back all the way to September. Because I know the first time I went out there, it was a holiday Monday. Let me see if this was actually that day. The 27th, that was the Friday. So I think that was actually not the first time we went, because we actually first went out on a Monday. So probably the 23rd was the first day. So this isn't in relation to the first visit, but we protested multiple days. Okay. And so, yeah, we got people out there. We informed people of what was going on. They came out, they started to protest. That protest and highlighting it on Cayman Mall Road, bringing it to the attention of the people, because the average person had no clue that Mike Adams and his family was being tortured by this jackass, Wilson Mendoza, for years. And that torturing had meant destruction of their property, physical abuse, verbal abuse, blocking their pathway to their house the most. And as a result of us bringing that to the table, the people were able to know in real terms what was going on. That then galvanized the government to step in and do something about it and try to make this a public road. How long, would it have gone on before an MLA would have said, let's resolve this otherwise? So I thank you so much, Steve. I get that a lot, but I think I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So Lisa, the WhatsApp number is there, 324-1612. John says yes for Sandy. No, John. Get that idea out of your head. I am good. I'm perfectly right where I'm supposed to be. What MLA would come on here every single morning and even have the time to talk to you like we are engaging right now? So leave me be, you good folks. We're all good. So Alwick says, I think Winston has a good heart, but I think there were some challenges, and sometimes people try to do good, but they don't have the support inside of government to help make things better for Caymanians. Unfortunately, some people are only interested in the salary and not the people and the country. Well, listen, if you are a person who is trying to do good, this is what I have just said. There's more than one way to do good, and there's more than one way to slice a cake, right? There's more than one way to cut that cookie. And so you have to decide what your path is. And I also think that you need to be realistic about what you can accomplish. So this is my whole point. If you're not part of the government, if you're not a minister, if you're a backbencher, what you can do as an elected official, and there will always be backbenchers, obviously. Not everyone can be a minister. Not everyone can be a mover and a shaker in the traditional sense of the LA. There will be limitations on what you can get done on behalf of your people. So I think I have the most amazing opportunity and platform here to make my voice be heard on behalf of the people of this country. Any of you having an issue, I can come to you, sit down, interview you. There's a lot of cases that don't even make it that far, because when you call me, I make one phone call. I send one email. Do you know that, I've lost count the number of people who are having an issue with the police. I can't get this done. I can't get that done. I'm like, I will help you. I get the number, the email address, the contact for the person that you need to be in contact with. Just a few weeks ago, someone was trying to get onto the Airbridge flight. They were calling travel time and doing this and doing that and wasn't getting anywhere. They messaged me, Sandy, this woman and her kids need to go to the UK. No problem. I'm on it. Got a contact. That's not even technically their job, but I know that they can get it done. And boom, problem resolved. It's all done. End of story. So, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I enjoy being able to help people. Sue says Sandy for Savannah. Oh, Lord. Yeah, so Sue says about the mask, she's not neat either. She's just wondering why no one ever came out and even offered. So, yes. Sharon Ralston needs to run. So, Sharon's name has been, in circulation for quite some time, actually. And she has been instrumental with the port. So, a lot of people do feel like she would be successful. Sharon's sister ran in Georgetown. Was that Georgetown West last year? I mean, which persons that didn't get elected last year or last term, sorry, it's almost been 4 years now, do you think um, should run again? So I'm thinking now of people like Jonathan Piercy. Who else was there? Gosh, I can't remember. But is there anyone that stuck out during the last election that maybe was close? Wayne Panton. I think Wayne will be throwing his hat back in the ring. Who do you think should give it another shot, that they could actually go in there, potentially take out the incumbent this time around? Jonathan. Is Jonathan one of those people that you guys think should run again? I'm curious. Inquiring minds want to know. Let me see what else is going on here. So, morning, Gucci Boy. How are you? Gucci Boy Hype 2020 Hype is watching us from our YouTube channel. So don't forget, we're on YouTube. Right now we've got 6 people watching via YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Evelyn, someone came by her house in Newlands, but she wasn't home. But she answered the doorbell from, I guess she has a Ring doorbell or something similar. And someone was handing out masks, and he left it on the front porch chair. So Catherine says that they shouldn't be able to run for more than 2 terms. So she wants a term limit cap. That's interesting. The argument that they use against that is that Cayman is too small and that we do not have, enough potential people out there. So Jacinta, who is watching on my personal page, says, "Good morning, Sandy. Thank you for what you do. Blessings and love." Thank you so much, Jacinta. Anita says, "No matter what anyone has to say about Sandra Hill, the one thing they cannot say is that she has no balls." I may not agree with some arguments, but fact is, like it or not, she puts it out there. Tamara, thank you. And thank you, Debbie. Anita, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. It takes balls to do what I do. I get it. And I'm not supposed to have balls because I'm a woman. And of course, we're supposed to know our place, especially in a Caribbean society where we are dominated by men. And so even the women who get into public office, they didn't get into public office, let's be honest. They didn't get into public office because they've got balls. They got into public office because maybe they were kissing somebody's balls, I don't know, or somebody's ass, I don't really know. But most of them, not most of them, all of them did not get into public office because they have balls. Because in the Caribbean, we still are very much in this machismo society where we as women have to toe the lines. We have to downplay our intellectual capacity. We have to downplay our business acumen, our business knowledge, because we need to know our part, right? So we are homemakers, or we are mothers, and we're nurturers. But when it comes to being balls of steel in business and in our community, it's like, oh no, we can't do that because we are going to offend someone. And that's probably where, as Anita has rightfully said, I don't care. I don't care if people are offended. And that's why, to be honest, some people don't like me. I rub them the wrong way because what you gonna do? I got balls of steel and I can polish my own balls. I don't need anything from you. I'm gonna say what needs to be said, and hopefully, let me go back here and grab your name again. Steve has just said, hopefully giving a voice to the voiceless. That really is significant and important. So, but I also get the context in which we all live. And, sometimes people are like, boy, Sandy, aren't you afraid of these politicians? And I'm like, why? Well, what are they going to do? They're going to vote me out? I'm not an elected politician. You know what I'm saying? Boy, they be talking about you, when they go and have a drink. Mall Road comes up and everyone like, oh, go on Mall Road and right now see what's going on, but you do it. Or, listen, sometimes the same politicians that they're cussing me and carrying on be the same ones that be on the down low messaging me with information or messaging me, yeah, you better look into this. Or, you know what I'm saying? They do it when it's convenient to them. And I get the game. I understand how this all works. So we have an amazing platform here, folks. And you know what? Sue, I haven't heard about that rumor about masks not being compulsory, but I would say that we should wear them for as long as we can because we have 0 cases for a while, but look at New Zealand. I don't need to say anymore. We do not know if there's still other people out there, small clusters of this, that just simply are asymptomatic and that are not getting tested. So yeah, it is what it is. Wear your mask as much as you can, especially for people when you're in those kind of public spaces. Now, by law, you've never, because the way the law is written about the mask, you've never had to wear your mask. Catherine, behave yourself this morning. Don't get me started, okay? However, I'm gonna get to you in a second, Catherine. Yeah, continue to wear your mask, but you've never technically had to wear your mask if you could maintain that 6 feet distance. But now we know that in small spaces such as classrooms, 6 feet means nothing because apparently this virus can spread particles out to 16 feet. So remember, we mentioned that last night. So if you missed it, folks, it's a study coming out of the University of Florida that says the coronavirus can travel up to 16 feet in smaller confined areas. Yuck. Coronavirus has gone crazy. All right, so there you have that. Now, Catherine has me chuckling about elected officials hanging out at bars looking for Spanish women. Catherine, boy, how many of them? If that was a reason to not be an elected official, we'd probably have very few in the LA, especially the government ministers at the moment. A lot of them would have to be removed. I mean, it's just shocking. Sometimes they have beautiful wives at home that are such nice women. They're probably too nice. The same thing, the Caribbean homemaker. They've raised these men's children. They've been good wives and always cooking their meals and making sure they've had everything that they want. And they have so much time in their hands because they don't have to do anything around the house or really do much of running the country that yes, they love to hang out at the bars. And yes, they seem to have a real preference for Spanish women. Some of them have been known to pay these women direct cash, as in the $500 we talked about a couple weeks ago, and loose lips sink ships, as they say. People can't hold water. You know what I'm saying? People talk their own business. That's how your business's MLAs get out there, folks. It's being talked either by you, your friends, or the women that you're with. So nothing you do in the dark will be kept in the dark. So yes, Catherine, I agree with you, and we've talked about that here on the show before. That maybe if they spent less time hanging out in the bar rooms. But you know what I find interesting? Just like how they're pandering to the church voters with this whole domestic partnership bill, they're also pandering to the other womanizers or the other people who like to hang out in bars, because there is a segment of, I'm not a bar person, but I do get it. People like to socialize in bars and they talk politics and they talk life. And so I guess the MLAs figure they got to cover all the grounds. So they've got to be, in that scene as well as going to church on Sunday. So they're playing both the devil and the angel, I guess. And when you're in that environment and you've had a few drinks, I guess all the barmaids start to look pretty good to you. And next thing you know, you're offering them $500 to leave with you or whatever, or you got to have a side chick that happens to be some girl from San Andres, Colombia, or whatever the case may be. So I don't get it. And like I said, most of them actually have, some of them have beautiful wives. I mean, listen, blonde hair, blue eyes, flowing or whatever. I mean, gorgeous. And they still can't behave themselves. And the wives, I mean, I'm not in their household, so I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But by all appearances, really nice women. And they would do the most for their husbands, and their husbands out there embarrassing them and the entire country. Isn't that ironic? Part of me thinks that men, I don't know. What do you think? Is it just Caribbean men that like to go out there and do all this kind of stuff anyway? It boosts their ego. I know other non-Caribbean men do it, but do you think, okay, here's the thing. Do you think you have to be a narcissist to probably be really interested in politics? And then you kind of do all this stuff once you get in because you think you're untouchable? Or do you get elected to politics and then it brings out the narcissism tendencies where you feel like you can cheat, you can take money from the country, you can pay stuff under the table, you can do whatever you want because you're above the law? Which do you think comes first? This is kind of like the chicken or the egg came first. And I'm not really sure, but it seems like a lot of politicians are very flawed individuals in terms of their personality. So is it that flawed individuals are attracted to the political arena, or you get into the political arena and then it brings out that side of your personality? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it's probably a little bit of both. So Catherine wants to know, was anybody else charged during the demonstration with disorderly conduct? Of course not, Catherine. They were not. Ironic. Were other people perhaps going on and cursing and stuff? Charles, you were there. Remind me, please. Was anybody else demanding that this man be arrested, etc., etc.? Was I acting completely disorderly that day? More so than anybody else, perhaps? But of course not, Catherine. Definitely not. You know, they got time for me. They got the most time for me. And in some ways, I'm like appreciative of the love from the DPP's office, because any file, like an alien could come down and be like, we tried to impregnate Sandy Hill with her alien baby, and she, of course, wouldn't have that. So we want you to charge her. They're going to go, let us go to the penal code. Let's see, flip, flip, flip. There is a section right here that I do believe we can charge her under. Yes, being disorderly with the aliens. Let's do it. That's just how ridiculous it has gotten. Like, it's just, yeah, Catherine. Nobody else has been charged and nobody else will be charged. But thanks for pointing out that very good point. Term limits, then 75% a vote for a third term after a 4-year break. Mike has a suggestion there. Okay. So they can't get elected for a third term if they don't get 75% of the vote. That's a high mark. Wow. I think nobody would ever get elected for a third term. Alric is in favor of term limits. Hey, there you go, Alric. A candidate who says, yes, I'm in favor of that. Now, let me say this. There have been people who have ran for public office who have said going in, I'm doing 2 terms and that's it, I'm out. And guess what? They're now on term number 4 and 5. So what has happened to this 2 terms? Only God knows. Because it just hasn't happened. Because they're waiting to become the next premier, or they're waiting for some kind of position that until they get that, they feel like they can't ever leave. So, yeah, kind of crazy. So Evelyn says, is this why they want to send you to jail? Because they're jealous of your talents? Well, I don't know if it's jealousy or if it's more a question of, they want to prove a point because they've been so unsuccessful so far. I mean, come on, who else in this country? And I'm willing to put my neck on the chopping block here to say without fear of contradiction, I'm pretty sure that I'm the only person that has been hauled into court 6 or 7 times with all different things. Everything from dog theft to the Nation Building Fund thing where they were claiming that I forged certificates that only I could sign. Like that whole case was so incredibly stupid. All of these cases have gotten thrown out at the earliest possible stage, dismissed, no case to answer. Name one other person that has ever been to court that many times and until last week had not a single conviction. Nobody. I don't care if they were the biggest, baddest gangster in Cayman. Normally, by case number 2 or 3, they're going to get a conviction of something. So they have been doing the most to me for over 10 years. And they finally got this low-lying offense, Section 90 of the ICTA law, to stick. So I think that that's part of it, Evelyn. They want to make a point. They want to make an example of me that, yes, you can't be this bold. You can't continue to fight us every time and win. One day your number is going to be up. One day you're finally going to your time is going to run out. And they finally found the right charge and the right wannabe victim who, had the right kind of crocodile tears. And there was just a recipe for disaster in the entire case that was, allowed them to finally get a win. So I don't think that they want me to go to jail because, first of all, there's so many shenanigans and things happening in that jailhouse that honestly, I would be reporting live from Fairbanks. This is Sandy Hill reporting right now live inside my cell from Fairbanks. Let's talk about some of the issues in here. Let's talk about how these female inmates are being handled and how they're being treated. So do they really want me to go to jail? Boy, that would be one hell of an expose up in there. And maybe it's about time. Because every once in a while, they reach out to me at the women's prison, but they, don't seem to be able to organize it in terms of their time that they get to make their calls. And then a lot of them are genuinely afraid. They are afraid, even in prison, that the treatment is going to get worse because they're in lockdown and those people up in there are doing the most. So we were the only ones who reported that a convicted rapist was having access to the women's prison, cooking in the kitchen, and that there were victims of sexual assault who were physically ill because of his presence. Nobody wants to talk about these things. So we were the only ones that highlighted and brought that issue to the fore. We were the only ones that talked about during the earthquake in January, the fact that the female prisoners were pretty much abandoned and left on their own because the guards ran out and went to safety and left these women there not knowing what was going on, not knowing if part 2 of the earthquake was coming, not knowing if a tsunami was even coming. You can imagine being locked up and incarcerated and you feel that 6.9, 7 earthquake, the building's shaking and then nobody tells you what's going on and everybody's gone. It's like, come on. Catherine, throwing out Isaac Rankin's name. I think Isaac might actually be running for East End. He's not said that as yet, but that's one of the talks on the Mall Road. Markle Archer. I don't think Marco's going to go there again because who would Marco run against? Speaking of Marco Archer, oh my gosh, I got to share this with you guys. Yesterday was Thursday, and I actually got an email from Marco Archer that I think is worth sharing because it demonstrates how people minor in the most ridiculous of things, major in the most ridiculous of things. So I mentioned to you guys last week, Friday, that it had come to our attention exactly a week ago that someone had sent out a fake email claiming that the Minister of Tourism had decided to open up our borders. I even showed you guys the email and everything, right? And I said, this is a fake email. I'm warning you guys, this isn't real. We posted up on our page. They've done this to the Compass a couple times where they send out fake stories. And it seems like whoever is doing this, I'm sure they're not even in the Cayman Islands, they have somehow managed to compromise Flo's email list. So anyone who is a candy wacky, when I say compromise, I mean they have access to the email address, not your specific like email account, right? So they have all the candy wacky email addresses or anything is that's like a .ky. I don't know how they've gotten it, but I guess there's a database out there with it. So they have managed to email everyone on that list saying, you know, this is happening. They used our logo, they spoofed our name, and so they made it look legit. Now, I would have thought that some people would have had a little bit more sense because, first of all, when you click on the read more link, it doesn't even take you to Cayman Mall Road. It's not because it's not a legit story. So it can't take you to any story that says that on our site because there is no story that says that on our site. So there's that. But we have had two people make a complaint. One was Shondell Bodden. He actually ran to the police and told them that we had put up this, that we had sent him an email. And because, you know, we've had an issue with him before that, let me just send this to my web guy here, that, you know, he doesn't know why we're emailing him and yada, yada, yada. So when the police officer called me, I was like, dude, clearly Shondell has nothing to do. He is the epitome of stupidity. And that's the only way I can say it. You go to the police station, you're going to drive down to the police station. Oh my God, I got an email from someone. It's not like the email was harassing you. The email wasn't personal to you. It wasn't like, dear Shondell. It was like claiming that there was a story out there. And again, if you only clicked on the link or if you saw where the email was actually coming from, you knew it wasn't us. Like it seems so incredibly obvious, but some people are blinded by their hate for me. Let's just be honest. And Shondell happens to be one of those people, blinded where he is just completely stupid, right? So I'm not surprised by that because I know Shondell, we've had a little bit of history. And so his lack of intellectual capacity does not surprise me one iota. However, Marco Archer, his lack of intellectual capacity did surprise me. So yesterday at 10:03 p.m., oh, that's when we replied. When did the email come in? The email came in at, hold on a second here now, let me see. The email came in at 1:03 p.m. He sends an email to us and copies the off-reg, claiming again, same thing like Shondell. And this is it, when people have an issue with you, they're so blinded. I mean, they make themselves look really stupid. How he's never asked to be added to your distribution list, and neither do I recall visiting your website. Well, good for you, my dear friend. Woohoo! Please cease and desist from sending me emails and remove any and all email addresses associated with blah, 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 blah. I have copied the ICT regulator for your information. Well, for your information, dear sir, what you needed to do was copy somebody with a little bit of common sense because copying the ICT don't make no damn sense. Copy Flo. If anything, this is a Flo issue and Flo could have confirmed with you that they're aware of the situation because they are aware of it. I made them aware of the situation just like I made the general public aware of the situation. So what's the point of this email? It has nothing to do with us. We didn't email you. Now, wouldn't you think it was so incredibly peculiar that all of a sudden, in 3 years, you've not gotten an email from CMR and all of a sudden now you're getting email. And then he claims that your unsubscribe option is ineffective. Here's the brains of the operation. It's ineffective because it's not a real email. So I don't know who you're unsubscribing from. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know who these people are that sent out this email. And normally if you do a spoofing email, of course you can't unsubscribe from them. Just like when you click on the link, it doesn't work. People, use your common sense. Don't be so blinded by your dislike of someone or something that you can't see what is right in front of you. It was so obvious that it was a fake news story. Within minutes of people receiving it, they sent it to us going, oh, this is a fake story that's circulating, claiming, purporting to be from Cayman Road, and it was not from us at all. The off-reg, trust me, they should have more important things to focus on. ICTA should have better things to do. But this is what I'm telling you now. This is how the ball gets rolling with, oh, well, you sent out this email. Well, that's harassment under the ICTA law, except we never sent it. You see how easily these things can like balloon into something. So folks, if you got that email, we also had a Mr. Dakins do the same thing. Well, he only emailed us. I'm like, dude, it's not us. You actually worked in telecom. I would have expected that you would know better. It's like the people you think might have a little bit of common sense are not always the ones who have it. Charles says by standing up against injustice in Cayman is wrong, especially when you're standing up for Caymanians. Well, that's how a lot of people see it. Charles says that he never heard me cursing or behaving badly. Well, I don't know when I get the file next week, I'll have to see, what they have. I am sure, Charles, my mouth not join church. So I am sure I used a couple profane words. And so what? Okay. I'm not sitting here claiming to be some Bible thumping person who never curses. Sometimes I have the vocabulary of a sailor. I'm well aware of that. I try not to do that. But yeah, there are times I'm going to tell you about your bumbleclat. And so what? You know what I'm saying? Is it really so egregious? Is it a criminal offense that heaven forbid I should curse? I don't know. We soon find out, I guess. Right? So I'm not going to sit here and say that I probably did not use some choice words. I was probably like, lock his ass up. Do a citizen's arrest. That's what I was out there saying. I'm sure I called him an asshole. Wow. Arrest me. Put me in handcuffs for calling the man what he is. Is that disorderly conduct? Okay. Alric makes the point that there are thousands of people who are not registered to vote, and the question becomes why, folks. Get out there. At least you might think right now, well, I don't think I'm going to vote. I'm not going to get involved. But if you don't register to vote, if a candidate pops up that you like and that you want to support, you will have no choice but to sit out the election. So folks, get registered to vote. At least be on the electors list so that if you need to make it happen, your vote can count. Then you won't be able to do anything if you do not register to vote. Steve is throwing out some additional names. He says, yes, Jonathan can make a comeback. Mike Adams can make a comeback. Where should Jonathan run? Because he ran against, what's his name? David? Is that the twin that we elected? Is it Chris or David? One of the two of them. I think it's David, right? So should Jonathan run against David again? Hi, Karen. Charles is not feeling Wayne Panton. That's interesting. Now we know that both Wayne and Ozzy Bawden, have resigned from the PPM. And I want to say this in defense of Wayne, right? Wayne actually has a really big heart. And I'm going to tell you something. Over the years, this is before Wayne got into politics, Wayne and I don't even know how we kind of like just started having very casual conversations. I guess because he's in the legal fraternity and, you kind of look up to someone like him who has been there, had the experience, been through some things at his previous law firm. And so Wayne and I would always talk, and he's, one-on-one, Wayne is Very smart. I think he has a lot of sensible things that he definitely contributes. He looks out for the environment, which is more than we can say for most of the other elected officials. And so there's certain platforms. Wayne has now set up a foundation in honor of his son, who died unexpectedly some years back, that really focuses on the mental health of our young people. So, I mean, Wayne has done a lot of good and he's helped a lot of people, I can tell you, myself being one of them, in terms of when I was doing the PPC. I think I've shared this story with you guys before. And what I think happened to Wayne Charles is, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that when he got in with the PPM and he became a minister, it changed him. It brought out, this is what I'm telling you now, it brought out that side of him, because I would hear Wayne saying certain things and acting in a particular way that I was like, what did he just say? Are you serious? So, is it that we all have that part of our personality that in the right circumstances, you get elected to political office? Okay, you think you're the shit. You think your shit no longer stinks. I don't know. But then you kind of start to act the fool and forget certain things. But up until that point, I got to tell you, Wayne and I have had a lot of conversations over the years. And I actually like Wayne. I do. I didn't like him with PPM. So some of the best news that I heard was when Wayne decided to resign from the PPM. And I think he saw a lot of things going on within the party structure that he could no longer be a part of. And I also think that he was remaining silent for the sake of keeping the party together, that there would have been things that he was displeased about or that he spoke out about even when they were together, that kind of pushed him in the corner a little bit. And he began to realize that, you know what? Maybe these are not the people that I need to be aligning myself with. I'm just throwing that out there, Charles. I'm telling you, I have had some conversations with Wayne, and I honestly believe that Wayne has a good heart and that he is actually a good person. But again, sometimes having a good heart and being a good person makes you the worst politician, because they don't always go hand in hand. So maybe that's the point with Winston Connolly. Winston might be a good person, but then when he got into politics and he was taking directions from Tara Rivers, of all people, telling him to pursue this frivolous case against me, because that's basically what he said on the stand. So that's a matter of public record. Anybody can go and listen to the transcripts, or not listen, but get the written transcripts of that thing. He said he was following directions from Tara, and Tara was the one pushing the agenda of, yes, let's prosecute her under this contract, this signed contract that she had for the Nation Building Fund. That was the day that I lost respect for him, because as a man and as someone who, like my lawyer pointed out, has been working in financial services, he claims for over 20 years. He's a qualified lawyer. He should know what fraud looks like. He has all of this supposed experience. Why would you let someone like Tara Rivers tell you what to do? Would you not say to Tara, maybe we need to carry out a proper investigation of her own before contacting the police and filing a police report and having this woman? Because the one thing that really pissed me off about the Nation Building Fund is it dragged my business name. And if you know me, listen to me. If you know one thing about me above all else, is I take my business very seriously. Any business that I'm involved in, I try to operate at a level of customer service, customer support. I mean, listen, don't mess up my business. And that was the one thing that they did. You can come at me even on a personal level, but when you're trying to mar my business name, you know, I am just like, this is straight up bullshit. Now you're effing with me in the wrong kind of way, because I have worked too hard to get where I am with no assistance from you people. You people meaning the ones like Tara and Winston who now trying to mar my name, right? And for you to come at me like that, not even knowing anything about my business, is just completely wrong. And so with that case offended me on that level because of that. And so I took it very personal. I got to tell you, since that case was filed, I will pass Winston on the streets and I have nothing to say to him. I'm not going to go and box him down or anything like that. But I'm just like, dude, you should have known better. When someone, I put it, David Ebanks said it to me the other day in the right kind of way, because we were talking about something with Mario Rankin, right? Now, Mario tried something during the whole governor's thing with his shenanigans, talking about, oh, I'm always publishing fake news. And, Dwayne was like, not Dwayne, David, sorry. David Ebanks said, Sandy, when people come after your business and after your business name, they're trying to take food off of your table and off of the table of your family. And so you should take that shit very personal. And I totally understood, but no, who's listening to Mario? I was like, that's true. I get your underlying point, but nobody not paying Mario no mind. I mean, honestly. But people would have listened to someone like Tara, and they would have listened to someone like Winston if that grand court judge didn't say this is a ridiculous case and instructed the jurors to throw it out. So people will listen to some of the foolishness on the mall road themselves not having all the facts. And that impacts whether or not someone is going to engage with you and do business with you. Listen, my Roque business, I take serious like a heart attack. I'm telling you. My customers message me, I'm responding, I'm on it. I go and do house visits with them. I sit down with them. I'm there for them. And any of your customers can tell you, I do not joke around when it comes to business. Kathy Wilkes, Isaac, some other names that Steve is throwing out there. Steve, you may have missed the show last night, but I'm pretty sure that Kathy is throwing her hat back in against Captain Eugene. And I did say last night that the first time she ran, which was the last election, Kathy only lost by 90 votes, which is really not a whole lot. So I'm of the opinion that Kathy gets an earlier start this time around and really gets in there, lets people know who she is, then that 90 vote could be shrunk down. I'm telling you, I'm feeling something there. Someone is having a good laugh. You got to tell us what your name translates to. I see the Arabic writing, but I have no idea how to pronounce that for sure. Good morning, Odette. Sue is having a good little laugh. John says, but the right way to say it is looking for women, not saying Spanish or Jamaican or whatever, because it sounds like all Spanish women are in that, and they are many that are not. No, John, for sure. However, because a lot of these men don't have any preference. They really don't care, to be honest, what they're screwing. However, some of them do like a certain type. So I think why people will refer to Spanish women in particular is because the bars that they frequent are frequented by Spanish women primarily. They're not the kind of local, it's not like the local bars that would have more Caribbean people necessarily. And they are known. So I think people, this is a situation where, John, people know what they're talking about. So when I talk about the Spanish girl that got the $500 the other day from a certain minister, that's a fact that she's from San Andreas, Colombia. So I'm not just trying to categorize all Spanish women. I'm saying I know for a fact she's from San Andreas, Colombia. So, yes, but we're not trying to be clear, we're not trying to say that all Spanish women are like that, all Caribbean men are not like that. We're not trying to lump people together. Lisa from Cayman says, I love you, Sandy, because I learn something every day. I can put up something on my WhatsApp status or on Facebook, and today you said a word I had to watch again to look it up and find out the meaning. I learn things I bring to the table also to our Jamaican government, things I learned from you. What? Lisa, big up yourself. Every single day, we have to be about that kind of life, Lisa, because none of us know it all. And we have to be willing to learn. If you knew how much learning I did. So right now I'm in the market. I think I told you guys this, for some new equipment for CMR. And I am out there learning from people who know more than me. I'm watching their expert YouTube videos. I'm reviewing the technology. I'm looking at the ins and outs of all this stuff. So yes, people can teach you so much. You just have to be open. You have to have an open mind, and you have to be willing to take it in. So thank you, Lisa. I'm so glad that I offer that to you. I appreciate that. Al Ebanks is here again for it. Al's birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday, Al. Oh, speaking of birthdays, hold on a second now. I've got one, 92 years old. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Okay, forget this. 1 second, let me pull this one up. We want to wish Miss Francine Jackson a happy birthday. And I'm going to show her here. Of course, this is Miss Joy Basteo. And what's Miss Joy's sister's name again? But you guys know what I'm talking about. This is their mom. She is 92 years old. So I am just so tickled pink by this. So happy birthday to Miss Francine. Give me 1 second. Let me pull up her birthday photo taken yesterday by her kids. They all went to visit her. And of course, you guys know lots of people are celebrating birthdays at the moment. There she is. Here we go, folks. There, happy birthday. 92 years young. And look at that. She looks fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. 92 years old. So Miss Francine Jackson and her other children, Jennifer Dilbert, that's whose name I couldn't remember for a second there, and Andre Jackson. So happy birthday to Miss Francine. She is looking wonderful. Yes, lots of birthday events and birthday greetings happening all over the place. So beautiful, beautiful. It's Princess Cornali's birthday. Christine Pearson's birthday is today as well. Joanna Bodden Small, happy birthday to Joanna. Ernest Barnes has a birthday. Diane Manderson has a birthday. Brittany, I think the last name is Nedger. But Brittany, you know who you are. Happy birthday. Angie McField. Paul Eggleston had a birthday, I think yesterday. Crystal Miles, Cecil Roberts, Nicola De Lima had a birthday. Sharon Douglas. Jan Thompson had a birthday yesterday as well, and so did Len Dilbert. So tomorrow, we won't be here on a Saturday, so let me do a birthday shout outs for Saturday and Sunday. We have Nicholas DaCosta. Happy birthday, Nick. Heidi Bush, big shout out to Heidi. Al, of course, we just mentioned Al Ebanks, will be celebrating his birthday. Himna McLaughlin from Lands and Surveying will be having a birthday. Janice Ebanks also celebrates. Janice is going to be turning 70. Happy birthday there, Janice. Tamara Hernandez. Heidi Rochelle. I think that's the same as Heidi Bush. I think she might have 2 Facebook accounts. Julie Bean has a birthday. And on Sunday, we've got Austin Harris. So happy birthday to Austin. Tawny Faraminez, I think is how she pronounces that, will be having a birthday on Sunday as well. Dee Smith, Oline Anderson, and Grayson McLean, all having birthdays on Sunday. And then, of course, next week is my birthday on Tuesday, and we'll do some birthday shout outs on Monday and Tuesday's show as well. So lots of birthdays, folks, lots of birthdays. Happy birthday to all of the August babies, but definitely Miss Francine. Beautiful. She looks wonderful. Okay, so Charles is saying, yep, I may have cursed, you just didn't hear it. Yeah, so I don't know how it could have created a, what did they say? What was the offense again? Whatever the heck they're claiming. A public, what's it saying? Disorderly conduct. Well, I guess the only person that needed to hear it was the person who made the complaint, which of course would have been Mr. Mendoza himself. But we'll see. Well, I think for that case, we better go with a jury of my peers, Caymanians, to make that decision. Yeah. Um. So we're actually out of time. Question: those who have status, can they vote? Or those at residency? Maybe a show about voting would be informative. Okay. For our paper Caymanians, John, thank you. There is a process that you have to go through to make sure that you're eligible to vote. And I think, John, that's a great show idea. We'll look into that soon to make sure we cover all the legal grounds. Charles confirms that Jonathan Piercy will not be running again. Cayman has had 3 chances for his efforts to help, and that hasn't been able to get a job in the Cayman Islands for some 7 years. I want to talk to Jonathan about coming on this show because this is one of the cases that really boils my blood. Jonathan, who's a bright Caymanian, who has a lot to offer, even if he was unsuccessful in political office, there's absolutely no reason why Jonathan should be unemployed as a qualified Caymanian who was actually head of department previously. Remember, he was head of DCI. So for him to not be employed for 7 years is an egregious indictment on this entire community. And I understand the situation. I understand where he's coming from because, listen, I was in the same boat, except I've started my own businesses. And that's why, like I said, anybody who comes at me about the food I'm trying to put on my table, you're lucky I don't box you down. Because the fight is real. When you have no one out there no one's going to assist you, right? You have to do it on your own. And when you're able to do it on your own and you're able to make a few little coins, and then people try to come and roadblock you and do all this stuff to you to take you down for no legitimate reason, not that you've done anything, then you know what? I got a problem with you. And so, yeah, I completely understand Jonathan's position. I'm a hustler, and that's what a lot of people don't like about me. They're like, shit, anything we do to Sandy, we can't keep her down. And all I can do is say, the man upstairs is looking out for me. And I have some talents and abilities and capabilities that I have acquired along the way, and a degree of tenacity, meaning you're not going to stop me. And I know how the system can hold you down and make you question your very core of who you are. And that is wrong. As Caymanians, folks, this is the bullshit now that we need to be standing up against. So I want to talk to Jonathan one day. I'm going to send him an invitation. Sue shares her discontent with Tara, saying that she's not helped to do anything with women. None of them, Miss Sue, has spoken out about that situation. None of the women, and most of the men, none of them either. So Tara hasn't spoken out. Juliana O'Connor Connolly, holding her Bible in her hand, I'm sure the Bible does not allow for white beaters to exist, has not spoken out. Barbara Connolly has likewise not spoken out. I think Tara has a son, but I don't know how many kids Miss Juliana has. I know she has a son. Does she have any daughters? I know Barbara has a daughter. Imagine if that was your daughter that was beaten black and blue. People, don't get me started here today. Because as Atlas has said, has it really been 2 hours? It sure has. And that's the end of the program because I got to run the court. So thank you guys so much for tuning in this morning. I am off to court to cover something. I don't want to give it away yet because I'm going to update you guys live right after we come out of court. So make sure you tune in. I will tell you what's interesting and what's happening there. I feel like every day I should be going to court and then coming out of the courthouse and giving you a rundown of who was in court and what's going on. Like do a vlog from the court steps every single morning. So in today's case, we saw the young lady with the 200 pounds of ganja from Prospect, who was also the young lady that we featured during COVID for getting her hair done. Remember that case? Coming soon. All right, folks, thank you so much. Yes, 2 hours goes by so quickly when you're having a fabulous time. And that's why we call this Fab Fridays, because it's always a good time right here on Cayman Mall Road. Good people, I appreciate you tuning in. Support local businesses that support local businesses and employ locals. Big shout out to Miracle Brokers, folks. Miracle Brokers is on it. Their sister company, Europost, I have been using, and I'm going to do a review of them shortly. Because, we don't want to just tell you about the companies who do a horrible job, who do a bad job. We also want to highlight the companies that do a fantastic job. So I've been ordering stuff because we're all ordering stuff. None of us can go anywhere because of COVID. And so ordinarily I keep a mailbox in Miami, but I can't go there with the hot mess that's going on over there. So I have got to order my stuff and bring it in. And I've used Airpost. I'm about to get another shipment. So I'm giving it time so I can give you honest feedback on how I found them and how I found their services. And Miracle Brokers, folks, has been around for over 30 years. And they have a wonderful reputation in the shipping, logistics, and packing industry. So they do so much. One day we've got to get Miss Irma or one of her team members on here to tell you about all the different services that they offer. So support locals that support locals. That's my advice for you. And I've just had some other candidates reach out to me privately, indicating that they will be running for office. So clearly we need to have a conversation with them. So stay tuned, folks. You've been tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth. Love you like cooked food. And I'll see you in a little bit live streaming from the courthouse steps.
Delivering these days can be frustrating. You can either wait forever or pay insane prices to get it faster. Even then, you still have no idea when it'll reach its destination. That's where Miracle Brokers comes in. We are flexible, reliable, and most importantly, fast. Whether you need household relocation, delivery services, full custom brokerage, overseas consolidation, commercial moving, packing materials, overseas consolidation, or inter-island moving, we offer exceptional logistic services all around the world that suits your individual needs. Just choose when, where, and what your delivery will be. You can even get it delivered same day. What's more, we'll choose the best courier for you based on your delivery requirements. This means less waiting and less hassle for you. Because we don't just say we care, this and much more make us a great option for you. Discover our shipping solutions and more at miraclebrokers.com today.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.